Hey guys, so I want to do this video real quick just to go over the redraw assignments. Now, there are no names on any of these here. I just copied and pasted some of your works onto one document. I called a demo. Just so I want to point out a couple of things that I think you guys can benefit and learn from on some of these redraw assignments and some of these logos on how to redraw. One of the main things that I noticed, I'm going to go in outline view mode, and I'm just going to pick random pages here. When drawing these logos, you want to make sure that everything is aligned properly. If any kind of misalignments, like right here, for example, the letter P is slightly misaligned, you're technically changing the customer's logo. So you'd have to go back in here and clean up some of these paths in order for it to match accordingly to the actual logo. Otherwise, you're literally changing the brand. So this would have been a little bit much more acceptable in this particular case. And you just want to get as close as possible to the edges of the original art files, like this. Just because you convert outline of a text and do like a little shear effect, you still need to go back in and clean up these paths and try to get them to align as close as possible to the original art file. So I probably would have taken some of these paths here like this with the indirect selection tool and aligned it a little bit better so that it can get even closer to the original artwork in this fashion, like this. So we're taking this path here, and these anchor points, drag them in here a little bit closer, like this one here looks really good to me. This one probably would have bring it down a little bit and get that a little bit better aligned to the original parts. So just by creating outlines of the text and creating the shear effect did not necessarily stop there. See, I would have gotten in here and I would have cleaned up these paths a lot better to make it fit better to the original art files. Look, that's a little bit off. So, you get the idea of what I mean by that. And then you just go back in here and clean up these paths and get those anchor points to look as close as possible to the original art files in there. So just because, again, you convert the text to outlines and then let it be, it does not work that way. No, you got to go in here and you got to make sure that these paths are accurate. Like this one here is drawn really well done. The only thing that I noticed, it looks like someone probably did like a live trace, because look at all these anchor points. That's not how it's supposed to be. This looks okay. Some of these paths here could have been a little bit much more cleaned up. Like I probably would have added an extra anchor point in here, bring this in some more, and probably just get that better aligned. So I think my snaps are turned on. No. And get that in there. Like this path is it's a little off right here. Now we get this part here and clean up that path to make it much accurate to the original shape. And here too. Bring that in and change that curve. And I'm using my convert tool and so on. But all these look okay. I mean, I probably would have brought this in a little bit closer. It's off over here. Now this may sound nitpicky, but let me tell you, the customers will pick up on their logo not being accurate or, exact. Now here's another example. This is completely off over here. All those shapes needed to match exactly like the artwork. And I don't know if some of you guys are trying to use the live trace feature. Trust me, if you did, I will call you out on it. This is unacceptable. Something like this. So that is very jaggedy. That doesn't even read like typography. It just looks like a lot of mixed text. The font is close, but you can still go back in here and clean that up. Even though if you did do a live trace, you still need to go back in there and clean that up. Like if I activate all these anchor points here, I have access to the anchor points. I can go back in here, bring that in a little bit closer, and adjust these curves and these paths a little closer here that way, and so on. Okay. Now, Visio, that looks pretty good. Again, I think that it was done with a live trace feature. I'm not sure. I'm not going to get too crazy detailed into that aspect here. There's another one here that I really want to point out. This one was done with I think with the pencil tool, just drawing in there and then filling it with strokes. In outline view mode, it looks okay. However, some areas are not joined right in here. So there's some gaps, a lot of gaps here within the coloring and the drawing. That's what drew my attention. But then when I saw it in outline view mode, it looks like you took a either the brush tool and tried to color inside like a coloring book. But guys, this is not the way to do it. I know that these are some shortcuts, but this is not the way to do it. The text was not converted to outline, so I couldn't really see how that was accomplished. And I noticed that there's some stray points here. Stray points are not effective when it comes to vector artwork. Stray point is, let's say if I take the pen tool and I click here, but connected it to nothing. So that's considered a stray point. To clean those up, you go to the select menu, object, stray points, and notice how many of these documents, all these documents here are highlighted, all the stray points. So you just hit the delete key and get rid of them. So you get rid of all your stray points. Stray points are terrible. They cause PostScript errors and can cause your document to crash. Back to this. Do the work, guys. Trace it out. Do it properly. Don't do any shortcuts. So I just wanted to point that one out. A lot of people had trouble creating the divide feature in the space between. So let's go ahead and take care of that real quick. I'm just going to show you how it should have been done. The first thing you had to do is draw the oval. I'm going to do no fills colors here. So I'm going to use this space here to get it done. So I'm going to take the oval and line it up as best as I possibly can based on the artwork. Okay. So that's step one. Step two was to draw the, at this point you can color it, and that's fine. So with the pen tool, I just click on the bottom point outside of the actual oval, and then close my path. I can go back in and clean that up later, but I can draw from the outside here, line it, close the path, grab my indirect selection tool and align that better. I think my snapping feature is, there you go. So that's aligned. And again, with my pen tool here, click that out, close it, touch the points. I'm a little off, so again, with my indirect selection tool, line that up properly. That's just snapping the points. All right, and the last two, try to line that up, outside. Now the divide feature isn't located in the Pathfinder palette, and you make sure that these paths are closed, otherwise it's gonna make a mess. Come on, there you go. So that's aligned, that's aligned. So after you draw that, you can color it, whatever, but then here's the step that a lot of people got confused on. With the Pathfinder palette, you select all these items that you drew, and you hit the divide feature. So when you hit the divide, it automatically groups everything. So you go to Object, Ungroup. Then you delete all the extra parts that you don't need on this artwork. So get rid of that, you get rid of this, and you get rid of that. Now, each one of these objects are now literally separated as a piece of pie, because wherever they overlapped, that's where they created the divide feature. So let's edit, undo all that. And that's the part that you could have taken care of in that sense. So now you can just select these guys here. Now, I don't remember in the instructions if it asked you to color it first, and then you can color it with the gradient color that you chose, radial blur, and so on. Okay, I probably would have colored it first and did the divide feature. Okay, so that takes care of that portion. That's how you take care of the divide feature on that. Let's see what else did I notice. Some of the students didn't drew the lines with the 6 millimeters on it. I called you out on that as well. See this one here, this is a perfect example. This looks amazing. So this is very acceptable, even though the actual typography is a little off over here, but it's enough for the client to actually accept the quality of work. All right, so this one here had multiple paths, or they probably did the, after creating the offset, they didn't go in here and clean this up. This one path here probably was unnecessary, so you needed to delete that one. And then, because there was multiple paths, there's probably some area in the instructions that were missed. Now, if you want to go back in here and clean all that up, I probably would have just taken some of these anchor points, bring them in. I can actually delete by removing some of these anchor points in this fashion, and then grabbing this one, bringing it in, and create my adjustments that way. If you run into this area right here like this is how I would fix this. I would select that anchor point, bring that down, and of course clean all these up over here. I can take the actual scissors tool, I can cut this pass right here, or I can bring in this anchor point close to this, close to where that one breaks up, and then bring this one in here this way. And of course, all this has to get redone, and that takes care of that portion of that path. Now this anchor point here, I don't think it's necessary, so I can remove it, and then I can zoom in on this one, grab that anchor point, bring it in to where it needs to be, and take the convert tool. With the anchor convert tool, add my anchor handles. So leave that one as is, and then take this one here and convert that curve and create that curve to fix that one path. So you see, that's much closer. I notice that I'm a little off here, so I can take and bring this anchor point in here. If it's snapping kind of weird, just zoom in on it and drag it where it needs to be. See, that's much closer. This one here had to be dragged in there and get that path a little bit much cleaner. Okay, same thing with this one. And get that much accurate. Okay, so you zoom out and you can view your results. This one's completely off. That needs to be closer in here. And this anchor point probably was not necessarily necessary, so this one can be removed. This anchor point can be brought in a little bit more, and grab your convert tool and add your anchor handles back. And then take that one handle and clean up that path, and you get that much nicer, smoother shape or finish. All right, guys, so I hope this helps in seeing what was done incorrectly. And again, if you struggle like this, if things are just not making sense to you, please keep the lines of communication open. Reach out to me, and I can help you. All right, thanks.